A very good morning to you. You're welcome to the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. My name is Rume Paulson. How are you doing this morning? It's Monday, the 7th of April, 2025. And on today's breakfast, you'll be looking at several hot topics, one of which is Tariff urges Tinubu to reject $1.08 billion loan and to probe missing funds. Much later, we'll be discussing the fact that a Don seeks smartphone ban in schools to curb distraction. We'll also be taking global stories that has made it to the front pages of our national dailies, as well as some top trending stories. But as usual, let's see output of the day. And our quote says, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And that is according to Winston Churchill. And he says this morning, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. I know we've taken this quote, a number of times, but a good quote remains a good quote. And since it's Monday, Motivational Monday, we're trying to, just champion you into your week. And we're letting you know, according to Winston Churchill, who was the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, that success is walking from failure to failure. So the only way you can succeed is getting back up. So even if you fall 7 times, you stand up 8 times. That's basically what this quote is talking about. So you never lose that momentum. You never lose that enthusiasm. You never lose your drive. You never lose your passion. You never lose your focus. It is important that, everything that you want to achieve, there is laser focus to it, that I can do it. Even if I fail today, I will get up again, do it over again, obviously making adequate changes that is required to have a different outcome. But I would never lose my drive or my passion in the first place. I will continue to keep going. And that's how you finally get into success, because you keep going. So make sure that whatever you're doing, I know we are now in the second quarter of the year. So whatever you're doing, keep going. Do not stop. Do not give up. Get up every single time and say, I can do it. Believe in it. And of course, it will come to fruition. So according to Winston Churchill, success is walking from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. And that's what we want you to have for your week. All right, let's move over to some top trending stories this morning. And the first one says, federal government responds to Trump's 14% tariff on exports. The federal government of Nigeria has responded to U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of a 14% tariff on Nigerian exports, calling the move a significant shift in trade relations. According to Trade Minister Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Nigeria plans to navigate this development pragmatically by turning challenges into opportunities to grow the country's non-oil exports and build a resilient economy. The U.S. justified the tariff by pointing to an existing trade imbalance, noting that Nigeria imposes a 20% tariff on U.S. exports. The new U.S. policy is expected to impact Nigeria's non-oil export sector, especially goods previously exempt under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. With over 90% of Nigeria's exports to the U.S. made up of crude oil and mineral fuels, the remaining non-oil sectors, such as fertilizers, lead, and agricultural products, now face disruptions in competitiveness and market access. Dr. Oduwole emphasized that SMEs rely on AGOA exemptions will be hit hardest, with rising costs and wavering buyer confidence threatening business models. In light of these challenges, Nigeria is reinforcing its commitment to economic diversification and regional trade integration. Oduwole stressed the importance of enhancing intra-African trade through the African Continental Free Trade Area and utilizing frameworks like PAPS to reduce trade costs. Despite the tariff tensions, the government maintains that the U.S. remains a valued economic partner and revealed ongoing consultations with U.S. officials and the WTO to reach mutually beneficial solutions. 14%, 27%. The numbers are just flying everywhere. But what we know is the fact that there's been a trade war between, the US, China, Canada, and whatnot. And of course, Nigeria is also in the mix, whereby there has been a tariff of 14% for, exports from here. And honestly, most of the things that we export, or majority of the thing that we export, is just one commodity, crude. And we've seen what the numbers have been, especially for crude lately. And for the others, with this 14% tariff, it would definitely hit hard. It would definitely have an impact on it. But at the end of the day, their country is their country. Whatever tariffs they want to put is up to them. And especially if we had a 27% tariff, you cannot really say, they're doing you wrong, because at the end of the day, everybody wants what's best for their country, right? So with this, I think it's just important that as a country, we look at other ways to ensure that we have more revenue coming in. So even for these imports, if the numbers are good, why not? If you're doing more, it might not seem as a whole lot, but I'm just bothered about the businesses who are going to be affected with this right now. And that's just a major concern. But I think the government definitely needs to look into their books, consult with people, stakeholders, experts in this field as well, that can address it properly, and looking for a mutually beneficial, union between them and the US to say, okay, you know what, let's come together, let's look at the books, let's look at what we can do, especially with ours, our own tariff as well, and your own tariff. Let's see what we can do. If we can come together to find a common ground whereby the people of Nigeria, or the American people, would not really, the businesses here in this case, would not be hit so hard. Why not? Because I mean, every day different countries go into different partnerships because what they want is for the benefit of their citizens, and that's something we definitely need to be looking into. All right, another top trending story says Nigerians condemn rise in bank charges and ATM fees. Nigerians are increasingly frustrated over mounting bank charges and new ATM withdrawal fees introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, including 100 Naira per 20,000 Naira withdrawn from other banks' ATM. Many citizens have found themselves stranded or embarrassed due to unexpected deductions that deplete their account balances, often without any transactions. Despite widespread economic hardship, banks continue to deduct fees for SMS alerts, account maintenance, and transfers, contributing to record profits over 3.4 trillion naira in 2024. Critics argue that the CBN banks are exploiting customers, while complaints over failed transactions and hidden charges remain largely unresolved. Experts and citizens are calling on the government to intervene by scrapping the electronic transfer levy and regulating excessive fees. They blame weak consumer protection and public silence for enabling banks to profit unfairly, adding to the financial burden on already struggling Nigerians. I think everybody, falls into this category, because as long as you have a bank account in Nigeria, then this definitely affects you. And every single day you see different levies coming up. I mean, I cannot even start to count how many levies that we pay. There's obviously the stamp duty one, there's the SMS charge. I think at some point they still wanted to introduce another one that was for data protection, something like that. So everyday bank charges. And the truth is, do Nigerians even have enough money for you to be charging them as much? That's the question. Like, do we have enough? Right now, we know what the economy is saying. Everybody's grappling with it. And the little that you have, so if I have 20,000 naira, maybe I need to make a payment of 20,000 naira, and the moment I take that out of the ATM, especially if I'm using another bank's ATM, that means my money is already short. So I cannot even make that payment of 20,000 naira, because what I'll be walking home with is just 19,900. And imagine because guess what? Most ATMs, they don't even offer 20,000 naira if you're using another bank's ATM. Most times it's 10,000 naira. So imagine you want to take out maybe 100,000 naira from the bank. How much is the charge? You're looking at least 500. That's if you are able to even take out 20,000 naira per withdrawal. That's a whole lot of money. And that is aside the other levies that you pay. There is also account maintenance. All of these things, I don't know what the government is really doing about this, ensuring that people who put their monies in the bank, they even get something. Before now, I would expect that if you put your money in the bank, you probably have interest. But that's only when maybe you open an account that you don't withdraw the money, maybe fixed deposits and whatnot. But for an account that you use every day in Nigeria, even though your money is in there, they keep taking your money. It's high time the government, impose something on these banks, because I think it's a whole lot. And nobody is even speaking about it as much. So while we just taking it in, we don't have the purchasing power for a lot of things. But even the little that we're trying to manage, there is nothing to show for it, because every single time, or for every Sunday that you wake up, stamp duty has been taken off. For every month, account maintenance has been taken off. You want to get an ATM card, of course you have to pay for the ATM card. Card maintenance, the list is endless. And the honest truth is, other countries is not the same. I mean, when I was in uni in the United Kingdom, your card is free, your bank is free. Every single thing, they never charge you a dime. Because why? They're making money with your money. So that's enough for them. They're making more money, because by the time you look at it, they probably are giving out your money as loans and whatnot, the money that you have in the bank with them. So the interest that they get is okay. But in Nigeria, it just seems like it's never enough. They kind of always look for another means to take the little that you have, which makes absolute no sense. But what do I know? I think we definitely need to speak more about this, because before you know it, there would be more. And by the time you realize, for someone who earns 70,000 naira as the minimum wage, maybe 50% of your salary is already gone on bank charges or other charges or other tariffs that have been increased. Because of course now we're talking about banks, but there's still electricity, there's still the cost of transportation, there's still the cost of data, whose tariff has also been increased. For even having to watch TV, the company here is already thinking of increasing their own tariffs as well. So what do you have for yourself? I think it's important that we really speak about these things. All right, another top trending story says, police host walkathon ahead of National Police Day celebration. As part of preparations for the maiden National Police Day, the Nigerian Police Force organized a nationwide walkathon on April 5, 2025, involving officers across all 36 states and the FCT. The event, which began at 6 a.m., also saw participation from members of the public, aiming to strengthen community relations and promote awareness for the upcoming grand finale. Now, the walkathon served as a platform to foster unity and mutual understanding between the police and the communities they serve. It forms part of a broader activities leading up to the National Police Day grand finale scheduled for April 7, which is today. In Abuja, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetukun, inspected ongoing parade rehearsals and exhibition at Eagle Square, and the IGP expressed satisfaction with preparations and urged Nigerians to actively participate in celebration, honoring the service and dedication of police officers nationwide. Well, according to what we know, this is obviously a great feat, but it kind of like coincides with something else, because in fact today there's supposed to be a rally and which talks about Take It Back movement, and the police also spoke about this, saying it is ill-conceived and they've been asked to cancel this Take It Back movement. So the National Police Day is today, they're celebrating that today, but there's also this protest that is scheduled to take place today as well. Now, I know we can say all we want about the police. Sometimes we come here and we berate the government, we berate the police because we feel like they're not doing enough. But I think first things first, let us commend them for even the little that they're doing. So to everyone who serves this country, to everyone who serves this nation, we appreciate your efforts. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all that you're doing, especially if you're doing the right thing, not if you're a bad cop or a corrupt politician or a corrupt leader. These are for the people who stay true to themselves. So we appreciate you, we commend you, and we hope that you would keep giving out yourself to a country that you love so much, being patriotic, and then this country would also serve you in return. That is what we hope for you. Now, moving over to the other part, we've seen cases whereby there's been a lot of bad eggs, right, in the police force. And if you are maybe going on your way today, maybe a guy, you have dreadlocks or you have tattoos, or maybe you don't just fit the responsible profile in their own books, right? They already profile you as a criminal, and they're already looking for ways to extort money from you. So those are things that we definitely need to address. I love the fact that they're celebrating National Police Day. Fantastic, great idea. But in celebrating this, you need to address some root causes that has, caused mayhem in our country. I remember the NSARS movement. It started from police brutality, right? And as of today, I'm sure there's still police brutality. Maybe not as much. Maybe we've obviously, moved a few steps forward, which is great. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So having to stop and search people, profile them, those are things that we want Kayode Egbetokun, the IGP of police, to speak to these policemen. They should know that what they're doing is serving their country, not looking for ways to extort people from the little money that they earn. They should know that their responsibility is to maintain law and order in a society, not to try to cause law, an outlaw in society as well, not to go against the law. So those are things that we definitely want to see. This Take It Back movement, obviously, they've called for a halt to it, and I don't know if people are going to decide not to show up for it, but I'm sure there are grievances and there are things that people want to speak up and they want their voices to be heard. So if all of these things can be sorted out, then why not? The police, they say, is your friend, but a lot of times we ask the question, is the police really my friend? If I get into trouble today, is the first person or the first point of call, would that be the police? No, not necessarily, because I might even be scared that if I was the victim, you may just rope me in. You may just say, no, come and write statements, and what were you doing there in the first place? There's so many people who are in jail for something they do not know about. And most times, maybe you went to a policeman and you kind of trusted him, and before you know it, tables have turned and you are the one getting the other end of the stick. So if the police is really your friend, if the police is really doing what they need to do, I'm sure everybody will be happy, right? Everybody will be happy that the police is my friend. If I'm in trouble, if I'm in a crisis, if I'm in anything, I can definitely call the police because they will point me in the right direction. But in Nigeria, not necessarily. So those are things, gaps, lapses that we definitely need to look into and plug them as quickly as possible. I'm sure that the police force, they're doing their best, but we need more. All the bribery and corruption on the road, stop roadblocks everywhere. Those are things that need to be looked at. You're not on the road because you want to take money from people. The 500, the 200, the 1,000 that you want to get off the road. You are on the road because you're trying to protect your citizens. And what you signed up for when you decided to enter into the police force was, I am going to make this my primary responsibility to ensure your safety. It's going to be my primary responsibility to maintain law and order in the society. So that's what we want from you. That's what we want from you. Not where you're looking for ways to extort us. No. Or where you're looking for ways to, just take us into your wings and lock us up, profile us and say you're this, you're that. That's not what we want. So we want the police to do their jobs the way it's supposed to be done, and everybody in Nigeria will be happy for it, and we will always commend you for your service to our country. Alright, another top trending story says Naira still has local value despite dollar fall, according to Fasua. So Dr. Tokwe Fasua, special advisor to the President Tinubu on economic affairs, has defended the Naira's local purchasing power despite its exchange rate of over 1,500 Naira to the dollar. Speaking on one podcast, Fasua argued that while the Naira appears weak against the dollar, it can still afford basic needs within Nigeria's economy. He cited practical examples stating that meals can still be bought for 1,500 naira in places like Gwarimpa, unlike the US where lunch often costs over $10, about 15,000 to 30,000 naira. Fasua emphasized that the cost of living must be viewed in context, noting that $1 holds more practical value in Nigeria than abroad. Addressing poverty levels, Fasua also clarified the meaning of multidimensional poverty, explaining it includes factors like access to education and healthcare, not just food insecurity. He stressed that many Nigerians misunderstand this metric and often interpret it as being poorer than it actually implies. Okay, this is a lot to chew on, but first things first, I think I'm going to ask a question to Mr. Fasua. Do you think that maybe you're privileged? That's the reason why you're saying this. It's possible. Because if you're saying that maybe the dollar still has, or maybe the naira still has as much value and we can still buy meals of 1,500 naira, can you buy meals of 1,500 naira? In fact, where are those meals? There might be people, selling food on the roadside, but I'm not even sure 1,500 naira can buy you a proper meal to feed you, to keep you full, to make you satisfied. So what are we talking about? We know that the purchasing power of the naira isn't where it's supposed to be, not even close. For 70,000 naira, how much do you spend on transportation if you have to work? 70,000 naira is the minimum wage, right? So how much do you have to spend on transportation before you even talk about feeding, before you talk about housing, before you talk about healthcare, before you talk about education for your kids? We do not have enough. The economy, maybe it will pick up, but as of today, what people are saying on the streets is different. So it is possible, Mr. Fasua, that you are maybe a little bit out of touch from reality. The reality of Nigerians. I mean, I can sit here and say, oh, yeah, things will be good. We hope for better. Yes. But is that what the person on the street is saying? I can sit here and say that because maybe I have a little in my pocket. But there's someone who has literally nothing. They cannot feed. So it's not even just about the food insecurity. It's the fact that we do not have enough. The purchasing power for Nigerians right now is next to zero. So if you're going to put it side by side with the dollar, saying, you need about $10 rather to buy food, how much do they earn per hour? Let's start with that. If we want to do the numbers, if we want to do the metrics, let's start with that. How much do they earn per hour? How much do they spend on transportation? They have good systems, good bus systems, so they don't have to spend as much. They are not going to spend maybe up to half of their salary on transportation alone. What is their rent like? Do they have affordable housing? The truth is, we want to speak about these things, right? And say, maybe our money is good, the value of our currency is okay if you compare it. But you need to compare it with the metrics of that society. You need to compare it with the system that they have put in place. Do we have good healthcare system in Nigeria? No, not necessarily. Do we have good education for our kids? How many people can send their kids to public schools right now, knowing that they don't have to break the bank to be able to send their kids to school? How many people? How many people can put food on their table? So if we want to talk about these things, we have to talk about the system as a whole, the system that has been created for them. So you cannot equate $10 to 1,500 naira because you can use that here. Over there, there's so many things that have been sorted out for them. In Nigeria, your little money, you have to use it for every single thing. Nothing has been done for you. So what are we talking about? This just sounds like we're out of touch from reality, and it's important that we bring ourselves back. If we want to fix the issue, let's fix the issue. The president has spoken. Tighten up your belt. Things will get better. These are sacrifices that we need to make. All right. What we've always asked for is a blueprint. When are things going to get better? What is the plan? Let us see the plan. Let's know how long we have to suffer for. If we have to do it once and for all, why not? I'm always up for that. I mean, China had to block their country at some point to revolutionize the country. So they can do that. I'm sure there are countries who have had to deal with this, but there was a plan in sight, and we're not just taking loans every now and again and you're not seeing what it's being used for. So if we have all of that, why not? But honestly, something needs to be done. The economy, the purchasing power of the people is nothing to write home about, and we cannot just sit in our offices or in our high horses and say things are okay and the multi-dimensional. We're speaking English. I'm sorry, we're just speaking English. Let us look at the reality on ground and fix the issue. All right, that's it for our top trending stories. We'll go on a short break. We'll look at the weather. When we return, we'll be reviewing the papers. Please stay with us.